Hi, everybody. We promised you guys this show about how toxic cell phones are, in particular for women and their femininity. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about why I got rid of my cell phone. And how that has really been a great grace in my life. And I know it sounds kind of crazy when we're first talking about this. I think Tim did a tweet like why my wife doesn't have a cell phone, and a lot of people were kind of losing their minds because you're associated with the patriarchy, and everybody always assumes that this is some sort of abuse or something like that. It's just kind of funny. It isn't. It actually is a great boon to my life not to have a cell phone. I think that a lot of you out there, if you really are just looking at yourselves very objectively and honestly, particularly women, I think you would agree you're probably on your phone way too much. You're probably already thinking that you're on your phone way too much and notice that. But I know that they have analytics in your cell phone in and of itself that tell you how much time you're actually spending on your phone. Maybe some of you are actually turning that off because it's a lot of time. But I can tell you that since I got rid of my phone, it's been a dramatic difference from how I was spending my time and even the virtues that I've been trying to attain in growing in femininity. So just a little bit of background on this. I lost my phone about 3 years ago. I think it's funny because we ended up finding it like 6 months ago, like where it actually went. But for like 4 or 5 days, I just could not find my phone anywhere. I don't know where it went, and just totally missing. We're making jokes. It was like fell off the face of the planet. So I started noticing, it's like, wow, this is actually kind of great to be off of my phone and actually just not have it like out of my hands, so to speak. Funnily enough, we were like flipping our mattress or something not so long ago, and it turns out that our 3-year-old had actually put it, like ripped a hole in the fabric in the box spring and put it in there. So I found it recently, and I at this point, it'd been quite some time since I had it, and I was just like, yeah, they could just stay lost. Like I've grown accustomed to not having the cell phone, and actually grew to like it, believe it or not. So Tim was even saying, when we lost the phone, he was even he put this in my head. He's like, you know what? It's probably best for your phone never to come back, and we'll just get you something. We'll tell you what I actually use for a phone. Believe it or not, we still do have an old-fashioned landline around here. Since I am a stay-at-home mother, I don't really need the portable telephone as much as I guess a lot of people do. And Tim and I are usually together, so if there is use of if I need an emergency call, so to speak, Tim's usually with me, and I'll use his cell phone, or do it back in the day like we used to, when in the 90s or whatever, when we weren't having cell phones in our pockets, most of us, and if something happened, I just pull over and, go to a 7-Eleven and call from there. But luckily Tim's with me, so we don't have to do too much of that. So whatever we do errands. So I want to talk specifically. I've made some notes, hopefully to make this seem less crazy to you guys, because I know all of us are so attached to our cell phones nowadays, but I'm not in the market of telling men what to do. As you know, on this channel, when I appear, I'm speaking specifically to women. So this is in no way a lecture on men, but really an appeal to women. Now that I am an oldster, and as scripture points out, I am allowed and really called to influence women, younger women, not necessarily online. Obviously scripture's not talking about that, but it is our job as older women to help younger women along, specifically in relation to their vocation to motherhood and wifeliness and that sort of thing. So, with cell phones, I have noticed in myself, I put myself under this chopping block, and with many others, that it really does kill femininity and togetherness. And so I'm sure a lot of those things are obvious to you, but I'm going to go more specifically into what exactly I mean on both of those camps. So in relation to femininity, I noticed that when I had my cell phone, a lot of my downtime, and even times when if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I should have been doing something more productive, I'm just scrolling for hours. And if you really think about how this technology was created, it is created to, I guess, be attractive to a certain part of our brain for entertainment, where it's like the never-ending scroll, the never-ending visual images. I know a lot of women are on Pinterest and Instagram and things like that. They know exactly what interests us. And they even have the technology now where they show you more things that you find interesting to keep you in this never-ending loop of scrolling. So in relation specifically to femininity, it just kills your what you should be doing around the house, like productivity and the things that you should be doing when you're just on these apps that are specifically designed to keep your attention and to keep your attention for a really long time. I know a lot of you, I was like this myself. I'd be on an app and I'd think, oh, I've just been doing this for like 10 minutes. And it would be like 30 minutes have gone by. And this is a daily occurrence that people are, they're engaged in this all the time. Number two, big thing for femininity. And this is why I also took myself off of Twitter, and with Tim's great guidance, the just combativeness, Twitter, some of these Facebook, I know is less popular with the Zoomers, but still with some of the boomers and the older gen, just women should not be combating people online, getting into fights, confronting specifically men. And I've noticed that, it's so easy to sit there on your phone, specifically on Twitter, and just get into telling men what's up, telling all these people what you think, all of your opinions. Femininity in its most beautiful form is a more private thing, right? So we think about the beauty of Our Lady, and really what that is when I think about her is just she was private, she was behind the scenes. We don't really know much about what her domestic chores were. We know she did do them, but it really wasn't just like broadcast out there. And it's, just to be frank with you, this has always been something that I've always been a little bit conflicted by, because it's hard to, be in a position that I'm in right now, where it's like I'm trying to teach younger generations, teach younger women, but without the internet. Like I have 6 daughters, but if I'm really trying to take this role seriously, it is kind of like this weird thing where I have to be public and, but I'm trying not to be. But if you get rid of your phone and, you're not out there just in the marketplace of ideas, constantly combating men in particular, which is a problem, ladies, you should never be doing that. It's super unfeminine. Getting rid of those apps while you get rid of your phone is a great way to reduce some of that exposure. It's just a waste of time, like this should have been obvious. And number one, it's a complete waste of your time. Somebody had said something a while ago, and it really struck at my heart. And that was that we only have 18 summers with our kids before they're kind of off doing that sort of thing. You just don't have that much time with your children. And in the long run, you really don't have that much time with your husband either. Life is very, very short. Really, what are you accomplishing on your phone? If we're even going to look at it objectively, at best, it's entertainment. And you really should be trying to funnel your entertainment in things that matter, in your family, in your husband, and just look at yourself objectively. When you're sitting there on your phone, it's solitary. You're not engaged with your family. A lot of times we don't even know what's going on around us, to be honest. There's lots of horrible stories about people on their phones getting hit by cars because they're just they're just so distracted. So think about that in relation to your kids and your family life. As women, we're supposed to be available constantly to our families, to our children. And our phones really are taking us out of communion with our husbands and our families, and specifically our children. If we think that, gosh, I only have 18 summers with my kids. That's it. That's all you get. Unless, they're living with you, or in our case, we have Abby, who's, physically handicapped, so she'll be with us forever. But you just don't have that much time to enjoy the people that you love. And the phone, it's a waste of time. This is a big one. It puts people, particularly women, in a terrible mood. It increases your loneliness. There's studies out here I was reading, loneliness, moodiness, not only that, but the physical attributes to being on your phone, the eye strain, the neck strain, sleeplessness. A lot of people sleep, particularly women. We need our sleep. If you're at home taking care of, like myself, like 7 kids and a husband and doing what you're doing, you need your rest. So you're on your phone at night looking at your phone. It's just like it kills your sleep productivity. And it does. Many studies are out there. It increases anxiety. You're just being inundated with so much information. And when I looked at this myself, I love, and I know maybe some of you are like this as well, but I love that, I don't know, with better certain aesthetic. It's like an English Jane Austen aesthetic, right? Where you're just like, you're gardening and you're kind of like, you're not even in a town that has that many people. So it's a very calm, simple, lovely lifestyle. We aesthetically, we associate that with femininity because of its privateness and its simplicity. And then we go and we make it our lives super complicated and stressful and worldly, being in the marketplace of ideas and like combating men and, like not even doing the Jane Austen-y things like gardening and spending time with your kids and just spending our time on the phone. It's so bad for femininity. But on the other end too, it's just bad for togetherness, right? So I've gotten into some of that on the femininity arc. But really, if you look around, Tim and I were just on vacation and with the family. And for us, we never want to lose sight of the graces God gives us and the blessings God gives us. And so particularly one of those things being able to go out to dinner with our family and to spend that time in communion with our children and with each other and just, share a meal. For me, it's always fun because I don't have to cook and clean and all these things. So I'm really enjoying just being able to sit down at a meal at a restaurant and not have to do all the chores and really commune with Tim and commune with the children. But look around next time you're at a restaurant, just look around you and notice how many people who are out dressed up, ready to sit down for a good meal. This is a time where you should be communicating with your family and really enjoying one another's company. And what are they spending their time with? It's just this the whole time, like the phone. How many couples are you sitting around on a date or just like this on the phone? This happened all over Florida. We were just there. Anytime we were doing anything that was fun, that was supposed to be a communal activity, people were not talking to each other. Their faces were in their phones. Like I can't tell you how bad, and I should have added this for the femininity, and I'll get into this right now, how bad it is for vanity for women, because this is huge. Posting photos of yourself online, looking for compliments, right? Like it's just all women want to feel beautiful and to esteem themselves as such. And more specifically, you want a man, to marry that feels that way about you. It becomes a really hard high to chase if you're somebody who, and I would expect, and also I would ask all of you to stop just posting photos of yourself endlessly online to elicit compliments, which is what you're doing. Like everyone knows that's what you're doing. Girls, that's what you're doing, and it's bad for you because this is the problem. No matter how much praise you're getting on those streams, the only praise that really matters is truly what God esteems you, how God esteems you, and your husband esteems you. And if you're getting constantly a high off of all of these compliments, it's so unfair to your husband because he can't reproduce like 35 people like saying that you're beautiful. And then it gets harder and harder and harder for him to satisfy that in your own mind because he's just one man who's giving you compliments. Maybe they're the same compliments that you're hearing day to day. And you're like, I want variety. I want to hear what this person thinks about this aspect of me or that person thinks about the other aspect of me. It's just vanity. It's in search of approval. And if you really look at how social media apps and what have you are created, they are created to be attractive to women's vices, to looking for approval, looking for compliments, not just some. I'm talking about like hundreds of compliments. The bigger your profile gets, the more compliments you get, the more you want to post, all that sort of thing. Women, particularly married women, Catholic women, are supposed to be deriving their self-esteem from their husbands and from their God, for pleasing God and knowing, like, I'm going to confession regularly, I am going to the sacraments, I'm raising my children in the faith. These are how a well-ordered female, if she's concerned with authentic femininity, is regarding and trying to elicit self-esteem. This cheap way of doing it online through apps and like being strangers, like throwing compliments at you, it's addictive and it actually kills your femininity. And it's actually, if you think about it, it's quite crass and childish to engage in it, because you really should be looking at your husband for that sort of affirmation. Also, every moment, this is another way it kills togetherness and femininity. Every moment people are posting online. Can we not just have like a private moment anymore? I'm seeing all of these, particularly women, they'll do video reels, right? Where they're trying to capture what they're trying to portray as an authentic response to something. And they have to repeat it. You know, it's like, oh, I'm good. Here I am. I'm so surprised somebody proposed to me. And then like, they're like, oh, I didn't like the way my hair looked. Okay, start over. I mean, it's so childish and stupid. And really, it is no place for grown women to behave this way. And really not even teenagers. To be honest with you, like I don't have a cell phone. My daughters will not have a cell phone. I tell them, Tim and I joke all the time, if you want a cell phone, you can ask your husband for one when you get married, because we're not buying you one of those. If you need, because some people will be like, worry about like, what about a danger situation if your daughters are like out doing something and they need a cell phone? Guess what? They can use their daddy's cell phone. Like Tim will hand them their cell phone when they're playing, you know, at a neighbor's house or something, and they need to get in touch with us. And I'm sure that the neighbors, you know, parents have a cell phone they could use. They're not going to be without communication. They don't have to send up smoke signals or anything to get in touch with us. It's certainly, you know, still possible in this modern day to contact, you know, people that you need to get in touch with, specifically across the street, if without a cell phone. So it's just, we've lost touch with just experiencing a moment without it needing to be plastered all over the internet or all over our social media page. You know, we were at Disney World, and I was noticing people were like videotaping everything, like the fireworks, you know, were being videotaped. Everything's being videotaped and put everywhere. And I'm just like, can you just be a person and just enjoy this without having to post it somewhere, anywhere? And this specifically applies to women. It's funny because we were even like in the pool on our vacation, and there were a couple of girls in the pool, and Tim and I were just dying laughing because they were just, for an hour, I'm not exaggerating, an hour straight. They had their tripod set up, and they were there on vacation, enjoying Florida, beautiful weather in the pool. And they were there for an hour taking photos of themselves. And when they finished the photos, it wasn't like, oh yeah, okay, now let's start enjoying our vacation. Oh no. They just packed up, got on their clothes, and left. This is how women are living their lives out. This shallow, hollow existence of social media. It's really gross, and it really does make us miserable, because there's always going to be, by the way, a more beautiful woman than you out there. You can post as many glamour shots as you want to, but there will always be a more beautiful, physically beautiful woman than you. And, you know, now we have this world is opened up to us through social media, where it's just like, there's just variety everywhere, right? So it's like, you're seeing, a lot of women are seeing like, oh, this woman's beautiful, I want to be more like this. It honestly just engenders a lot of misery for a lot of women. And this brings me to my next point, this swipe left mentality on everything. There's so much variety out there that even in our matchmaking program, we've noticed that women, because right now it's so easy to go on the internet and just like, I don't like this guy, I don't like this guy, I don't like this guy. I mean, I don't know if many of you were, you know, 80s kids like myself. So that means I'm dating more seriously, for marriage in in the 90s. But back then, it was whoever was around you, right? We didn't have social media. And that was a better time, honestly, because you gave people in the dating context a chance. If there was a guy, and I was like 18 years old, and maybe he didn't have the perfect eye color that I had dreamed of, or he wasn't the perfect height, or if he wasn't, whatever, as wealthy as we wanted. But I was like, he's a nice guy and he's in my orbit and I'm going to give this guy a chance. That was a much healthier approach to dating, because a lot of people my age are married. And a lot of people in the Zoomer generation are having a really, if I can just be honest with you, an exceedingly hard time, particularly women, because the marketplace of variety and everything is out there and they can see, oh, this is my ideal. And if a guy doesn't fit that mark, they just swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. It's catastrophic to romance, and it's catastrophic to actually finding somebody that you might have a really beautiful life with just because they don't have, check the mark on all your preferences. Now, luckily for me, I did find somebody like that in Tim Gordon, so but he was in my orbit, to be fair. Okay. Social awareness is at an all-time low. And I mean this in particularly in the context of communication, because text messaging really kind of, for lack of a better phrase, retards us all. I've noticed that since text messaging and these sorts of very instant communication things have come out, the art of communication, the formality of communication, and just common courtesy has been an all-time low. People ghosting each other, not getting back to one another right away. Even the crassness of text messaging. I've noticed if somebody's writing me a text message, just being thumbs up. It's just not a very respectful way of communicating. And I get it. It's easy. I when I had a cell phone, I was always texting. Tim and I were texting back and forth. So I understand the usefulness of it. But if you really think about it, most Zoomers in that age group, they don't understand how to write a thank you note anymore. That just doesn't happen. And I really do attribute a lot of that to just the quick, technology is at your hands, simple. They don't really need to do that sort of thing. They don't even know how to communicate that way. And it's really not good for us, particularly women. Also, I will say this, being bored is a good thing. I know that phones have kind of taken off more and more and more and more because people are always looking for constant gratification, constant entertainment, that sort of thing. But being bored actually is a grace. I remember being, and again, I'm really dating myself, and I always hated it when older people would be back in the day, this was how it was done and it was better. But I really truly believe this. I remember being a kid and being we're bored. My brother and I were bored. And I remember sitting out on the stoop a couple of times and being what are we going to do? And it was just a time for more creativity. Usually it involved being outside and doing something productive. Nowadays, kids are just inside all the time on their phones, doing nothing. And I've noticed this a lot because our generation, we used to play outside all the time. It was a thing. When the light came on the doorstep, that's when we all knew we had to go inside. And so now it's everyone's just inside. And Tim and I were saying, why is everybody in all the time? Why isn't nobody just outside playing anymore? And it really is because of these phone addictions. And apply that, women, to yourself and to your vocation as a mother and a wife, and notice how much of the time your cell phone is just taking you away from being creative, more thinking. Speaking about the bored thing, if you're bored, don't naturally just pick up your phone. Take that time to be creative. Do something kind and loving for your husband. Do something kind and loving for your children. Make a meal. Make a dessert. Learn something new. Read. Think. Pray more. Learn some of the feminine arts, honestly. Since I've gotten rid of my phone, I've learned how to sew. Tim got me a sewing machine. I've learned how to make garments with clothing, to garden. which who knows? Like, I used to think gardening was just like throw a couple of seeds into the earth and see what happens. But no, like Tim's got me some books on specifically how to make a really beautiful garden, what plants go next to each other, which ones thrive in certain areas, how to prune all of your beautiful plants to make them more beautiful. The feminine arts are dead. They're dead because no women anymore are taking the time to reacquaint themselves with them. And that was one of the other things that I wanted to do for our homeschooling curriculum, particularly for my daughters. I want to give my daughters into the world to, lucky men, and so that they could reestablish some of the femininity in their own households. So it's like, I want them to know how to sew. I want them to know how to garden. I want them to know how to paint and to, pray properly and do all these things. And it takes time to learn to do those things. And since I've gotten rid of my phone, I've spent more time. I can't, it's not as easy as me just going and picking up a cell phone anymore and just going onto Instagram or fighting on Twitter with a bunch of dudes that I have no business fighting with. Now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit bored. Maybe I should go out and water all my flowers, or learn to make a new garment or something of that sort. It's so good for the female soul to learn how to do some of those things. Expense is a big thing. A lot of us are, mothers of big households. I have 7 children. It's very expensive just to keep a household that size, to feed everybody. Think about how much your phone costs per month, just a monthly bill. Not only that, but to replace it if it breaks, all these other things. It's just, and it's funny because we guard our phones like they're our children because they're so freaking expensive. I was laughing on vacation because we went to a water park with the kids and people were carrying their phones in these waterproof bags around their necks, like in a pool. And I'm like, you can't just be without your phone for 4 minutes to just take a dip in a pool. You have to carry it with you like it's a baby in one of those baby backpack things. Like, are you serious? Because they're so expensive, people are guarding them and getting all the tchotchkes to keep them safe, the cases and the little hand holders and that sort of thing. And it's just like, you're constantly, think about how many times a day. It's almost like your child. You're wondering, where is my phone? If your phone drops, it's like anxiety. It's like, it's just a mess. It's a mess. All of this stuff is so unnecessary. It's just absolutely unnecessary. So what are the fruits of my life? I've gone through some of them since I've gotten rid of my phone. I've found myself to have more time, first and foremost, for my children and my husband. What that looks like in relation to femininity is accessibility. As women, we're supposed to be accessible. That's why we're home during the day, right? If Tim needs anything at all, I am at his disposal. I am ready and willing to help him to get any task that he needs done. I am here for him. I'm here for the children. I'm not being distracted by other things, particularly my phone. So that's been one of the fruits of that. I've noticed that I've had less stress since I've had it. Even the notifications and emails and things like that, we all think, oh, somebody wrote, I have to get to them right away. I can focus more on the things that make me a better Catholic, praying, thinking, that sort of thing. And I have to be distracted so much with my phone going off and alerting me to all sorts of things in the world. I also noticed that even my neck tension, and I have really terrible eyes, in general, but I've noticed that that's really improved because it's a very unnatural posture to always be doing this and scrolling on the phone. I've noticed that I've been more present on dates and things like that with my husband. We've saved the money because once we got rid of my phone, we ended the contract with it. And, we just function solely on Tim's cell phone. So the expense obviously has been great. I never was one to post a lot of photos of myself online because I always kind of felt like that was clearly childish. And if we're being honest, as women, we know exactly what we're doing. We're fishing for compliments. We're wanting people besides our husbands to tell us how beautiful we are and how great we are and how whatever we are. It's childish. It's silly. You don't need to do that. If you're looking for compliments and you need more compliments, maintenance, and maybe have a conversation with your husband and just say, hey, I'm feeling a little insecure. Women are notorious for that, by the way. We get insecure very quickly. Don't be high maintenance and pain in the neck with your husband when you're asking that sort of thing. But if you just have an honest conversation with him and say, I'm, feeling like I could hear a kind word every now and again, then talk to your husband about that. Don't just fly to the internet so that you can get like 30 guys in your DMs telling you that you look nice in a swimsuit. So how do I do it without the phone? So I don't have a cell phone. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what do you do if there's like a burglar in your house, or if you're, needing to call an ambulance or something that sort? Guys, there's a thing called a landline, and I have one, and it's old fashioned. And it's a literal phone that I have on a charging base that I pick up and dial with my fingers in case something happens, around the house that I need to call, a paramedic or something. Like, that's how it's done. And if I'm out and about, I have Tim's phone. And there's been times, and again, I know you guys, some of you may not know, but it's like, yeah, Tim and I are usually together, but if there's times where I need to go get like a haircut or something and he can't take me somewhere, then he's like, here's my phone. It's more important for you to have it, woman who's driving in the world, than me at home who's, just like hanging out. So it's that simple. It's that simple. A landline is perfectly adequate to alleviate all of these dangers of cell phone usage for women. And frankly, I don't have to use it that often. It's there if I need it. It's less expensive. I think it's like 40 or 50 bucks a month just to have the landline. If my kids are home and they need, if Tim and I are out on a date with the cell phone and the kids are at home, our teenagers watching the kids, and she needs to get in touch with me, she can use the landline. They don't need the cell phone themselves. So our family of 9 has functioned really, really great with one cell phone for the past 3 years. And I can just speak honestly that it has really liberated me in my femininity and my togetherness, and really in my vocation to as a wife and as a mother. And I really encourage a lot of you, particularly women, because again, I'm not talking to the men on this issue, but women, just note, how often are you on your phone? How often are you spending time, just wasting time on your phone? And consider joining me and, some other very few ladies. People call us a couple of weirdos. Please join the weirdos and just get rid of your phone. And I think you'll note how freeing it is, and what a great return to tradition, if you will, of a lifestyle that you will have once you get rid of all of these really distractions. I looking at my list, I'm like, what's the positive with the phone? There's a bunch of negatives I listed out. What's the positive? Like ease, comfort, a little bit of entertainment every now and again. Really not enough to justify all the ills that it causes. So let us know what you think in the comments. Am I nuts? Am I totally crazy? Is this weird? But I hope you consider it honestly, and look at your analytics. I dare you to look at your analytics and how often you're spending on your phone. I bet you even if you think you're spending too much time on your phone, if you look at your analytics, I bet you it's way more than you even think it is. So thank you again. And it's weird talking without Tim, but we thought this would be a very valuable show for you guys. And let us know what you think. Am I nuts? Let me know.